Check, 1 2 1 2. Check, 1 2 1 2. So, what do I got? Let me pull something up here. Oh, I was on Facebook and I came across. I'll post it so you'll see it here as I read. But it says, "My husband is making us fly home from our honeymoon after 1 day because he found out I sent my ex a simple goodbye text on the morning of our wedding. It was a goodbye text, for goodness sake, not an I will always love you text, not a drop everything and meet me at the altar text. I needed to say goodbye to have closure on the unmarried part of my life. Please tell me my sensitive and nostalgic girlies understand." Um, Nobody was really kind of rocking with what she was saying, and for good reason. If you had that much thought about your ex, that could have been something you addressed when you started dating your now husband, maybe even when you got engaged. But it sounds highly disrespectful, and maybe I'm off, but it sounds highly disrespectful to be thinking like that on the day of your wedding. And I would dare say if roles were reversed, it wouldn't be a forgivable act. It would be something very hard for this young lady to get over if her now husband had texted his ex on the day of their wedding. It just seems like a there was something missing about her thought process as far as it's a day for the two of you, not the two of you and somebody that you once shared time with. And honestly, it's kind of crazy that you're thinking about the person who didn't think enough to marry you, but you're still thinking enough about them. And that's how that works out sometimes. There's winners and losers, I guess, in relationships. I like to think if everybody can move on with peace and progress, which is what I told my ex, then we can all win. I don't think that you want to pit like where you're at versus where the other person is at. But in this instance, I can see where people would want to have their closure, have their moments where they know that they need to move on. But I think that there's something to be said about timing is everything. And timing was way off on this one. This should have been handled, and that door should have been closed long before you accepted a ring, a date, of setting proposals, all those things. It should have been a closed issue before you moved on to the next person, because it's not fair to the next person. Of course, we still have our experiences, our memories, and things like that. But I can't imagine. Even if I was that guy, though, the ex-boyfriend, I wouldn't want a text from you on your wedding day. That's just it's an uncomfortable spot to be in, I would say. And it's not a place that if I were him that I would think, wow, I dodged a major bullet, because if this is what she's doing on this day, then that would be my thought. But I would also feel for the guy that, wow, I wonder if he even knows. And then how did he find out? That was the other question that I kind of had, because he found out. It didn't say that she told him, so she wasn't being honest. This is a bad way to start out a marriage. And this is those kind of things where you see the stats on marriages and how soon they dissolve. And it's, man, I feel for the guy, because I feel for anybody who gets deceived like this. And maybe she's not a completely deceptive person, but in this moment, those kind of actions and those kind of thoughts, and then putting it out on social media and looking for validation from her sensitive and nostalgic girlies. This is where there's that old saying, women keep women single. And especially single women will keep single women single. This is a bad idea. And why are you listening to people who, one, you don't know, two, who don't know the circumstance, haven't met your ex, haven't met your husband, like they have no stake in your life. So of course they can just throw out anything, and it may not even be genuine. So why not tell this to I dare say, like your parents or people in your community that you respect? What about a pastor? What about a therapist? Because clearly there's something that's not finished in your life to where you felt that this was an appropriate measure to take. And maybe that therapist would say, you know what, that's a healthy place to be. I'm not qualified to say. I wouldn't rock with it. And I wouldn't do it. That's the other half. I wouldn't accept it and I wouldn't do it. So that's where I stand on it. What are your guys' thoughts on something like this? I think it's a bad way to start. And I think that when you're in that state of mind where you can do something like that, you weren't ready to get married. You may have thought that you were, and maybe it was the fear of being lonely after a certain age. You really can't see her face. She doesn't look that old, but then, she may be of a certain age, but that maturity level seems to not be lined up with the age. It doesn't seem like a mature thing to do. It didn't seem like it seemed very selfish. And you're certainly allowed to have your moments. You're certainly allowed to have your times to cope and get over things. But those moments are supposed to be spent before you get into another relationship. And I don't know where I heard it, but there was some rule of thumb that for however long you were with somebody, then you should spend at least a third of that time healing yourself. So I guess if you were with somebody for 9 years, you should take a few years off before you start dating again to really get yourself back. And there's a huge part of that I agree with. The split that I had was after many, many years. And even to this day now, I find more peace every day being able to have built my own home back up and actually finding a home, how I parent, my jobs going, getting myself educated, getting a better job, all of those things. It doesn't mean that I'm doing it in preparation for meeting that special someone. It means that I'm doing it for me. It means that the special someone is my daughter if I'm trying to take care of somebody long term. So those are those things. But do I feel like I've missed out on something? No, not really, because every day that if you're in the right mindset, if you're in the right mind state, then building on yourself, it's not a selfish thing. It's not selfish at all. It's selfish when you get into a relationship and then start doing things like this person was doing. She wasn't ready. That's my thought. I'm not college educated. I don't have degrees or anything else like that. But I think most people would say that was selfish. And the way that you really want to put things like this out there is don't put it shouldn't have been my husband. Like if I were going to present this to somebody, I wouldn't say my husband. I would say my spouse. And after one day, because they found out, I sent my ex a simple goodbye. Let's take away the gender and stop framing it with things, because she was looking for validation from other women who may think the same way that she does. But if we were just to put this out here and say they, him, her, and I'm not in a pronoun sort of way, but keeping it so we don't know who did what, I think it would skew a lot of people's thinking, because for many, if they thought like, oh, a guy did that, what a dog, this or that, but then you have to get that out of them and then find out that it was a woman and then see if they still stand on that same opinion. I think a lot of people would. Others wouldn't. Others might say, well, she was trying to have her moment and, she deserves to do that before, she moves on. Correct. She does deserve to do that before she moves on. Before she moves on to another relationship. Not before she moves on with the rest of her life in a relationship that she's said that she's committed to. And I do use the word said that she's committed to. Because this could have disastrous results if that ex decided he wanted to still have something to do with her. If he still wanted to maybe not meet me at the altar, but meet me at the hotel. I'm still around, just sending text messages. Are they still connected on social media? I think there's a lot of respects that you need to pay the person that you're with once you enter into something serious with them. And that is honestly separating from a lot of your exes, because a lot of you, if you're honest, the temptation, and it's not enough to be still friends with a lot of their family members and things like that. It's great you have those, but I think most people who get it would understand that if you moved on, that would be, to your best interest, and because it's going to bring happiness to the relationship that you're in. Because I don't know, unless that new person is okay with that, but I think that's also a conversation that you have up front. But I definitely don't think that these are things and ways that you think behind your ex's back. And just to be very dismissive, it was a goodbye text, for goodness sake, not an I will. Like, this has sarcasm through it. This has, I don't really feel for where my husband is coming from. After one day on your honeymoon, I might have flown back too by myself, and there could, I don't know that this is not good. And the state of social media putting stuff like this out there, man, I hope it doesn't give somebody else an idea that this is somehow acceptable. I hope it doesn't give other people the idea to continue to validate this behavior, because we read it in the comments, we read it in the chats, and people go back and forth. And this is really a hard part of relationships in this modern era. And boy, I feel for the husband. But what are your thoughts? What's your ace up the sleeve, advice, comment, experience? We'd love to hear what you guys have to say on the matter, and how this would play out if it was you, regardless if you're a woman or man, whether you've married a woman or a man, or woman and woman, man and man. Like, if your significant other did this on your wedding day, and you found out, they didn't tell you, you found out during your honeymoon, what would your thoughts be? Leave it in the comments. We'd love to hear from you guys. And as always, subscriptions to the channel are free. And I hope this finds everybody in your place. Pursuit or beginnings of total health, mind, body, and soul. Peace, love, unity, solidarity. And of course, there'll be some videos and subscriptions. So stick around.